Minimal digital viable product is a system that I have created to make sure that the offer that I create is going to be 100% successful. I'll show you step by step how to do the whole thing, some pro tips, and how you test it out as well. All right, so there's quite a few different steps, but let's start out first with, okay, what is the main mistake when it comes to creating offers? And that is creating a product before proving that there is a demand. I see this all of the time, and you can lose months of time doing this. So instead of doing that, we're basically going to create minimal viable digital product, and this really can be anything, any type of product, service, whatever you really want. And here, first of all, we want to create a landing page. Step number one, here we add all the benefits, pain points, unique value proposition. I'm not going to get into detail. I'll leave some of the videos I've made before how to create the perfect landing page. By the way, I created a blueprint for the best business model out there, so check the description. But one thing I want you to understand is when you're creating your landing page, you basically want to create some sort of mock-ups on the page. And thing you need to understand is you don't need to have an offer. You can just create a mock-up of how it would look like. So when it comes to the visuals, when it comes to copy, all of that stuff, don't just get AI to create something for you. And by the way, as time goes on, you can have different variations as well, how the product is going to look like. So you can change up the images, you can change up the copy. It doesn't mean that your offer is going to have to be exactly what you created from the get-go. You can always update what exactly it is as you get more feedback, and we'll talk about this in another step, but you will going to adjust and iterate. So don't worry if what you're putting up first doesn't look that great. You honestly just want to create something and ship it out as fast as possible. By the way, I have created a document of 50 best growth hacks used by the biggest marketers out there. Check the link below. Now, the fun thing, once we have created our landing page, we have our mockups, we created what the offer should look like. Now we want to create an opt-in form and create an email waitlist. And there are 3 different ways how you can basically run these tests. So bear with me. I'll show you some that I don't really see many people talk about, but the basic one that you definitely need to have is an email list. Do you realize that not everyone is going to convert from this list, but we're kind of getting some interest seeing, okay, how many people are signing up waiting for maybe potentially being interested in our offer. So this is obviously not ideal because not everyone is going to convert, but once we have our offer, then basically we're just going to remarket the product to them. We're going to send out email sequences to get back to them basically about our product. We can actually even nurture them while they are on the waiting list, while we still haven't even created our product, our offer. And we can also run retargeting ads. This is what a lot of people don't think about, but if we have people's emails, we can also target them with ads to, because they have already showed interest, we want to basically get them in all of these different avenues. And one thing before I get into the next way that is actually even better, I think, what I mentioned before already is you want to ask for feedback. Because you haven't launched yet, you can ask what exactly people want. This is such a hack that not many people really consider, but this is absolutely amazing because your first offer it's never going to be perfect. So this is the best way until instead of you just thinking, okay, what could be good, you actually just ask people, hey, what is exactly that you want? And the beautiful thing in here is you haven't built out your offer yet. You ask people what they want, and then you build out that exact thing, and then you deliver, and then your conversions are going to be way higher. Now, from the landing page, this is the second method, and there are 3 different ones as I mentioned, so bear with me. So social media opt-in. This is something that I don't really see that many people do, but this is it can be absolute game changer. So basically what you can do is ask people within social media to opt in, and the way you do that is by ask them to comment specific keyword. So you just create a keyword for your offer, and then you're going to basically send them DM. And all of these leads are stored in DMs. You can do it manually if you really want to. You can also just do this. There are softwares. I'll leave some links for the software that I use, and it comes with also discounts that I've negotiated and bonuses. But basically, you can have an automation software that is going to collect all of these leads, all of the people that commented. It's going to collect all of that into database to be ready once you launch. You can retarget those people. And this is great proof of concept as well. If people actually put out comments, again, this is just showing on social media that you have engagement, and just shows you that, okay, there is interest. So once basically the product is out, once you have created your offer, then you can send out follow-up DMs. Again, you can do it manually. You can use a software that actually is going to, you can literally just send out hundreds of these DMs on autopilot to the people that showed interest, which is what I would suggest. You can actually send them a link to the opt-in page even before that. You can collect their information basically in DMs, and you can collect their information with capturing their email address. So basically this is the step that I talked about before. We are going to basically get as many different points as possible. So this is why I really like the social media, because from social media we can funnel them into the opt-in form, and then we can target them on 2 different domains now. And by the way, also here we go to the same thing of asking for feedback. So remember that on social media, actually, probably it's even easier to ask for feedback. Depends what exactly you use, but if you use Twitter, if you use Instagram, you can use stories to ask people what they think, and people are more likely actually to reply in DMs. It might work even better than having email, so definitely do that as well. Okay, so now let's go to the third different method. And by the way, I'll show you how exactly you test out all of these different offers, and then I'll show you also basically how to determine whether your offer is good or not, and I'll show you some examples as well how people do this. So basically here, the third way is having pre-sales page. So here you actually collect payments, but you state that the offer is going to launch at a set date. So you don't need to deliver the offer right away. I like this quite a lot, and you will see actually if you go to my different offers, you will see that I do this quite often. I mean, I do all of these 3 different things, but the pre-sales page is really good. Why I really like this is because that if people are actually giving you payments, they're actually paying money. This is way better proof than just opt-in on social media or opt-in on an email, because as I said, a lot of these leads are from email opt-ins, from social media, they are going to drop off. So not everyone is actually going to convert. People might tell you that they're interested, but they're not actually going to convert. But if people actually paid money, that is actually a pretty good indicator that people are converting. I will say one thing though, is that this is pre-sales page. You don't have the offer yet. So that means that there is going to be a percentage of people that they want maybe this offer right now, today. They don't want to wait for it. So those people are not going to convert that might have otherwise converted. So to equal this out, what you can do is you can create some incentives. So for example, you can give lower price. So for some of the people, let's say basically first buyers get, whatever, like 40% discount. And what you can do as well, what I like probably even more than that, rather than lowering the price, is provide some bonuses. So you add extra items, you add maybe a call or coaching, additional like coaching call, some sort of thing that people who buy before you have created the offer, they're getting that extra, and people that will buy later, they will not get that. So it's an incentive that might sort of like balance things out, because again, you'll get a little bit lower conversions because it's not made yet, and because of this, you'll get a little bit higher conversions. So not only this balances things out, but also it creates some FOMO as well, because if you state that, okay, the lower price is only for people that buy before the offer has been created, and the bonuses as well, then people now want to basically buy because they don't want want to pay extra later. So I really like this sort of incentive system. Now, let me tell you some pro tips how exactly you test these things out. So one pro tip is running influencer campaigns to test out your MVDP. That is actually cheaper than running ads, because especially if you're creating a few different offers, ads take quite some time to optimize and find the right audience. So you'll need to invest some money before you're actually getting that perfect audience. And again, if you're running multiple offers, multiple ad campaigns, that can add up to quite a bit of money before you can actually see which results actually make proper sense. So running some influencer campaigns can be much cheaper because you just pay for the campaign and you get that audience and you can see, okay, how does this offer compare to this offer with the same type of audience? There's no like optimization that goes into this. Another pro tip is to create posts around the concept on social media, and I'll show you a really good example in a second of this, but basically just see how much engagement you're getting. And this is great basically way to go about if you're really on a tight budget, you don't want to invest a lot of money, you want to test out the different offers. And by the way, you can run ads. I said influencers, but you can run ads as well. Ads is probably one of the best ways if you can, but if not, create some social media posts, especially on something like TikTok. It's so easy now because you don't even need to have following. It doesn't also need to go viral. You just need to see, is there some engagement and which offers, maybe which variations are getting more engagement. So a good example of this that I really like is sex chocolate. So basically this person here, they created a post around the concept on social media, and actually that video went basically viral, got a bunch of engagement, and they didn't even have the product. They just created that video that went viral, and after that I think it took them around a year to actually create the product, but they already knew, okay, there is this interest. They proved the interest before creating the product. They did exactly this thing. They created this minimal viable product, and then they went back into the social media and started creating all of this content that was viral, and then working with influencers and all that kind of stuff. So let's talk quickly about the conversions. So conversions is total amount sold or opt-in if you're just collecting people's emails, people visited versus people have bought. That's the conversion rate. So how do we figure out whether the offer is good or not? Honestly, it's super difficult because it really depends on your niche. It depends on your offer, on your pricing, all of those kind of things. One thing I will say is you can basically just probably see, okay, if you get 0.5 conversion rate, it's probably not a good idea. That is a very low. Again, it depends on what kind of audience you are driving, because if it's really targeted audience, obviously you get much higher conversion rates. So let's just imagine this is medium engagement interest audience. 0.5 is too low, honestly. I would probably not go for that. If you get something like 5% or even around that, it can be lower than that, then I would say, okay, this is definitely a good idea and I would explore it more, but it does depend quite a bit. I would probably try to find, okay, what are the averages within your specific niche and kind of like try to base it from there. But yeah, this is the main concept of, as he said, what I call minimal digital viable product. I have created an SOP, step by step, more in depth, how you go about executing these different steps, because obviously this is just a very, very broad picture of how this whole system works. So check out, I'll leave links for that below, and any other links that might be useful, smash the thumbs up.